Hello and welcome. My name is Nadia Sayapin. I am the author of this book, The Rebels. And if you've stumbled onto here, you might need to rethink some of your life choices. I am reading pieces of my book, one chapter at a time, because I have a friend who cannot read this on her own. So I'm reading it to her. I do this wholly unedited so you get all of my facial expressions. I may pause the video once in a while, but I do not actually edit anything, as will soon become extremely and painfully clear. You have been warned. We are currently on chapter 20, so if you are brand spanking new and you want to know what the fuck is going on, I highly suggest you go all the way back to chapter 1. Yes, I have done this 19 other times. If you're wondering, I don't actually remember how many chapters this book has. So, Jay, settle down. I hope you guys have got a cup of tea, maybe a nice snack. Obviously, I don't have either. Oh, and if you're wondering really quick why I'm reading this, it's because I can't actually afford an audio book, and my friend really wants to hear the story, so this is what we're doing. Thank you for being here. The Rebels, Chapter 20. The ambush left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Steve came roaring up after the house burned enough to leave a huge black smoke mark in the light gray sky. We waited while they debated. Waited until 3 soldiers had exited the truck looking for their buddies. Waited until they were in point-blank range of Sirius's hiding place. My breath came in quick gasps, waiting for Phoenix to start the show. Then we cut them down. Phoenix took out their own gunner, a real neat shot just above his left eyebrow. The driver tried to back out, but I banged on the roof of the cab, shouting for d3ath to move. We boxed the bastard in and left him with nowhere else to go. I hesitated once he was cornered, unsure what to do with him from there, but not so Kestrel. She knew him, and when she stepped forward, I saw the recognition in his eyes. The moment of bewilderment left, and he gave her a contemptuous look, dismissing her. I saw the moment she snapped, but I was too late, too slow. Kestrel snapped her rifle up, firing quickly. She missed but recovered, firing twice more. It wasn't a clean shot. She hit him in the stomach, and we all stood frozen as the man sank to the ground, stunned. Within moments, the shock wore off and he began to scream, holding his belly and crying. Me, d3ath, and Sirius rushed to him, checking the wounds, both front and back. I don't think he's gonna make it, I said, swallowing convulsively and talking loudly to be heard over the crying man. You don't know what he's done. Kestrel watched him with a flat expression. I'd never seen that look on anyone's face before, and it scared me. It was cold, hard, full of memories she didn't want. We shouldn't leave him like this, Sirius said quietly. It's cruel. So was he! The older girl exclaimed, voice trembling. The others mostly just wanted sex. He liked to hurt us. Kestrel's right. You don't know what he's done. I stared down at the man moaning on the ground in front of us, blood oozing and a bad smell wafting from him. I think Kestrel punctured his intestines with that shot. Either way, I wouldn't leave a dog like this, and I won't leave him. I clenched my teeth so tightly it would have taken a crowbar to pry them apart, and stood over the man, breathing deeply through my nose. He stared blindly up, crying, completely unaware, even when I drew the gun and cocked it. Kestrel and the rescued girls never looked away, even when I shot him. Dark began settling over the land when we left town. We weren't willing to stay in that place, particularly with the plume of smoke still rising above it. Thing is, I had one thing to do before we left. Open the hood of that Hummer. I did not expect what I found. The engine had a lot of modifications and parts that weren't machined by the brand. The body was probably chosen because it's great, bottom-heavy, all-terrain vehicle, but the innards... This shit ain't right, I said, shaking my head slowly. It's gorgeous, but it's a chimera. Bits and pieces taken from different muscle cars and remade to fit. It's expensive, and it would have taken a shit ton of money and connections. How the hell would a po-dunk country like North Korea get their hands on this? Asked Sirius, the only person who could follow me. Comes with living together for the last few years. Couldn't they just have bought the parts online? Sirius looked from me to the truck and back again. Not a snowball's chance in hell. I pushed my hair back. I'd have a hard time getting the crap for this, and I'm capable of machining some of this stuff. So what's it all mean? I think they must have had help. I closed the hood. Here's a question. Phoenix looked around. Anybody ever see somebody who wasn't Asian in that lot of soldiers? After a round of no's, we figured additional debate was pointless and decided to bugger off. We left the house burning and headed into the hills. Once we found a safe, hidden spot, we heard the girls' story. It was all too familiar, but instead of being locked in one building, they'd been taken from post to post all over the valley. Cascadia was their fourth prison, and they'd been here 2 weeks. The girl before had died. Malnutrition, beatings, they didn't know for sure. I looked around the tiny fire at the exhausted faces. You know they still need names, d3ath said. The two women conferred quietly while we finished getting the camp set up. After the water boiled and we got food heating, they told us their choices. Lightning for the younger, who'd barely said 2 words, and the elder chose Thunder. For a brief moment, curiosity almost had me tight enough to ask their reasons, but food and a goldfish memory won. By the time I remembered again, I also remembered our basic creed to not ask for explanations. It would take all our time. I slept poorly that night, the gut-shot man and the man I'd stabbed in Salem blending in my dreams. I got up several times, walking around the camp, checking on the others. Once, I found Lightning curled on her side, whimpering softly as she twitched and jerked in her sleep. I feared touching her would make it worse, but I didn't want to leave her like that. Really? I sat next to her, roughly singing a lullaby my mom used to sing to me. And I'm not good, and d3ath, who stood watch, grimaced and came over to help. I faded out and left the last verse to her pure, sweet voice. Lightning slowly calmed, and I touched d3ath's shoulder gently. Let her sleep, I whispered. Let Phoenix keep sleeping. I'll stand watch. That was my mistake. Oops. Okay, good. But remember, don't yank the trigger. You gotta squeeze it on an exhale. I lay in my patch of less muddy ground, watching Phoenix coach Kestrel through her first hunt. Hunting hadn't been on the agenda, but when you see 4 large bucks grazing and there's a ton of mouths to feed, you make time. I'd gone out with Phoenix, Kestrel, and Storm, leaving Sirius and d3ath at the trucks with the new girls, who needed time to heal before they'd be ready for serious physical activity. I exhaled deeply myself to keep from twitching at the report as Kestrel followed instructions and fired. A buck jerked, making him a second slower than the others to turn and flee, and my heart sank. We could spend all day and then some if we had to track this guy down. Turned out, Phoenix was ready for this situation, and her shot brought him down before he made it to the cover of the trees. The only thing we saw of the rest of the bucks were their white tails disappearing into the forest. Kestrel grimaced, dejected. I can't believe I missed that badly. Don't worry about it, Phoenix reassured her. You're still learning the rifle, and actually having to shoot something is hard. My first one, I missed completely. Little Miss Jungle Cat over there. You really can't do worse than our last hunting trip, I said dryly. We walked slowly towards the downed buck, lifting our knees high to step over the hummocks hidden in the tall grass. We were only halfway there when a whistle pierced the air. I turned to see d3ath waving frantically. Company! She pointed towards Cascadia. Got company! We got company! I shouted, bolting for the deer, Phoenix hot on my heels. Kestrel and Storm hesitated a moment before following. Everybody, grab a leg and move! Running with a deer carcass bouncing next to your legs makes life awkward. What made it worse was the antlers, and I nearly impaled my leg on one before I grabbed a tine, holding the head on an angle while we ran. It's amazing the kind of incentive not wanting to be shot can give you. We unceremoniously threw the deer in the back of the running GMC and dived in, piling on top of each other in our haste. I found myself spitting deer hairs, glad we'd moved all of the foodstuffs into Steve's truck. d3ath punched the gas as soon as the last pair of boots left the pavement, the tires screeching on the Chimera truck as Sirius followed behind. We disentangled ourselves, sitting up and trying to figure out where the danger lay. "What the fuck?" Phoenix exclaimed. I looked and saw Thunder, the older sister, standing at the machine gun on Steve's truck. It wasn't a protected position, though it was more than we had in the pickup. I wonder if she'll be able to figure out how to work. A new Chimera-style truck appeared like magic from around the corner in front of us, and we had nowhere to go. Bullets raked the top of the cab and spun off into the air as we ducked. d3ath yanked the wheel to the left, stomping on the gas. I lunged to my knees, barely able to reach the trigger on our machine gun and hoping to keep them from killing us for a few more moments. Phoenix squirmed, bringing her rifle up, firing from where she'd been thrown into a corner. Storm and Kestrel joined in, but they were erratic, slow. We passed so close to Steve, it was only the windiness of the road and d3ath's driving that saved us. It took all the quivering scraps of courage I could find to stand up and use our damn machine gun properly. Forewarned by us, Sirius and Thunder were more prepared. The girl kept her finger on the trigger, screaming the whole time, catching Steve by surprise. d3ath threw the pickup into reverse and chased after Steve while they were distracted by Thunder, knocking all of us over except Phoenix. She pulled a grenade out from under her jacket and lobbed it into the enemy. It missed, exploding on the far side of the vehicle. Phoenix immediately followed that with another grenade. My breath caught as it bounced on the roof, then fell through the gunner's position into the truck. "Yes!" she shrieked, punching the air. I listened to the others cheering, lurching as d3ath put us back into drive and got the hell out of Dodge, but paid more attention to how the truck reacted. Hinges and doors came loose before that glass did. Our celebration was short-lived. Thunder fired at the truck until Sirius passed it. Then, still screaming, she turned the gun onto a new target. Us. "Oh, fuck!" was the common theme as we hit the deck, barely managing to fall down before the bullets whizzed through the space I'd just occupied. d3ath weaved around, though that action was hardly necessary considering the twists in the road. We bounced over the rough road, knocking into the gun stand, the deer carcass, and each other, all over the ribbed fiberglass of the truck bed. "What are you doing, you crazy bitch?" screamed Phoenix over the tailgate, ducking down as a fresh hail blew past. We screeched around a corner and had a few seconds of bliss. A flock of blackbirds shot into the air when the bullets peppered their trees, the racket of their cawing lost in the sounds of straining engines and squealing tires. Above our heads, the machine gun spun, proving that not all the bullets missed, and even the untrained got lucky sometimes. The barrel swung down as the locking mechanism broke, catching Kestrel above the ear and tearing a patch of skin. She collapsed bonelessly to the floor. "Stop shooting my truck!" I bellowed uselessly, pressing my sleeve to Kestrel's head. "Sirius, why are you still driving?" I peeked over the edge of the tailgate. "Well, shit!" "What?" asked Phoenix, from where she and Storm were frantically digging out bandages, pushing my hand away from Kestrel's head, the first aid kit from my pack open and scattered next to them. "There's another truck back there," I explained. We left Storm to finish the nursing job and scrambled through the mud, blood, and limbs, trying to find the rifles we'd had to abandon, and were now bouncing and sliding through the muck around us. I popped up, holding my Marlin rifle, and took another look behind us. "Fuck! Get a couple grenades ready," I barked at Phoenix. "Storm, leave her for now and get ready to make Thunder keep her head down." "d3ath!" I bellowed. The girl waved. "Veer left and brake! Now!" We screeched to the side, and all of us in the back slid towards the cab. Storm, fortunately, never had to deal with Thunder. Sirius kept her foot pressed down, and they blew past us, leaving those enemy soldiers to our untender mercy. Phoenix began firing 3-round bursts at Steve, and I blessed the versatility of the M21s. Behind me, Thunder's machine gun finally fell silent. Empty or jammed, I didn't care which, as long as she wasn't shooting at me anymore. I fired at the enemy's engine block, hoping to hit the radiator while Storm prepped and flung a grenade. She missed so badly the truck was driving over it when it exploded. I revised my opinion of missed when the resulting explosion sparked the gas tank. 2 of the truck's tires left the ground, lifted by a glorious orange ball of flame. The heat from the explosion kissed my face, followed closely by a light hail of shrapnel. Go, go, go! I yelled, ducking down. d3ath obliged, racing to catch up to Sirius. Phoenix switched her rifle back to single shot and aimed at the survivors of the truck explosion as 2 men stumbled away from the flaming hulk. I pushed the barrel up before she could fire. Let him go, I said hoarsely. What? Why? Fear. I settled back, shattered now, as the adrenaline faded. Steve should get just enough information to piss them off. Make them look in the wrong area. Phoenix grumbled under her breath, but she listened. I'd take the win. What the hell were you thinking, letting a traumatized girl near a damn machine gun? As soon as we found a good, out-of-the-way clearing, we pulled over and made camp. Phoenix showed Kestrel and Storm how to properly skin and gut a deer, while I dragged Sirius into the trees for a little privacy. I didn't let her do anything, she protested. They were supposed to sit in the back while I drove. Kid figured out the rest on her own. Maybe, instead, we shouldn't have stopped. Sirius glared at me. It was like being threatened by a wombat. Small, compact, could probably kill you, and would definitely fuck up your car. I swung away from her, angry at how close we'd come to losing everything. I clenched my teeth repeatedly, trying to calm down. In truth, Sirius was right. We shouldn't have stopped to hunt. It was my decision, not hers. My fault, not hers. I'm sorry. I breathed deeply through my nose, hands on my hips, and stowing the angry, pointless words that wanted to spew out. We're still trying to figure this crap out. I took another deep breath, then let it out slowly. Who'd have thought last year that we'd be doing crazy shit like this? Sirius grinned at me, wide enough that I could see the gap from her missing tooth, all forgiven. I know, right? I guess we're not useless women anymore. Our medieval grandfather thought single women were second-class citizens, and he hadn't been afraid to tell us. Nah, he'd still think we're useless, especially after the way Tony schooled him last time. We laughed, remembering the dumbfounded expression on the old bastard's face when Tony, Sirius's sister, had lambasted the old man and gave him a piece of her mind. Sirius made the sound deep in her throat. Good thing for you we had this talk in private. If you'd done this in front of the others, I'd have had to kick your ass. Got a reputation, you know. Ha! I tossed my head back, reminding her who was taller. As if you could. I'd have to be dying before you had a chance. Sirius stuck her tongue out. You wish. Remember the time we were kids and you... I clamped an arm around her neck, muffling her, and noogied her beanie-clad head. She pinched my ribs and we scuffled, neither trying very hard, as we tumbled laughing into the firelight. Phoenix and d3ath ignored us, used to our idiocies, but the others stared, mouths hanging open. Kestrel gave us a sideways look, the fresh bandage showing brightly against her golden brown hair, open disapproval on her face. There is just something wrong with you two. You both can use some therapy to respond like normal people. Feel free to come and talk to me any time. We only laughed harder. I dropped to the ground on top of my new sleeping bag, which was really my old one before I got the quilt, between Phoenix and Storm, crossing my legs in front of me. A pan of mixed green beans and corn warmed to one side of the fire, while thinly sliced meat from the earlier kill roasted on wooden skewers over the other. You people are kind of weird, Storm commented as Sirius sat next to her. Only kind of? Sirius said with mock horror. We're doing something wrong if we're only kind of weird. I shrugged, smirking at the teenager. I guess we need to try harder. I eyed the sisters and tried to decide what, if anything, I could say to them, when the decision was taken out of my hands. Captain, Thunder began timidly, I wanted to say I'm sorry for what I did earlier. Good, Phoenix muttered. I shook my head at her, warning her to stay quiet. won't say no problem because that's definitely an issue, but I'd like to know what was going on in your head. I was scared, afraid that if we didn't stop them, we'd be taken back, and I can't go back. I can't, she whispered. I pinched the bridge of my nose, thinking, right, we get that. Then, Thunder continued, then I felt powerful, like I had control of over my life for the first time. Oh boy. Either way, you'll go through a fuck ton of training, discipline, and hand-to-hand combat, plus group counseling sessions with Kestrel before we let you near a gun again. It was as close as we'd come to a standard procedure, with all the traumatized women running around. Even Phoenix attended. Lightning, that quiet little mouse, finally spoke up. We're not in trouble? Nah, kid. I smiled, feeling the sad turn in my mouth. It's as much my fault for stopping. All I can say is, we're learning too. By this time, dinner was hot, and we tucked in using tin mugs, knives, and fingers to eat. Everybody ate silently, hungry after the day's insanity. Kestrel shifted, arching her back and trying to stretch without spilling her food. All this running around without a bra is killing me. How do you guys stand it? Sports bra, I mumbled around a mouthful of food. Didn't you guys get something? Kestrel and Storm shook their heads. There aren't any, Storm offered. We've been using the smallest t-shirts, but a lot of us are small enough that they're still too big. Oh. We could try tanning hides, Sirius offered. You know how to do that? Kestrel raised her eyebrows, surprised. Sirius laughed. No. I chuckled. Not like ignorance has stopped us yet. Slowed, yeah. Stopped, no. After all, necessity is the mother of invention, or some shit like that. I finished another mouthful and gestured with my knife. We'll mention it to Eleanor, and she'll see who wants the job. Thus ends Chapter 21. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this, do feel free to like and follow. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really doing this so that other people can find me, but what the fuck. If you want to know more about this, or you want to, my other socials, I've got a link somewhere around here you can find, and you can follow me somewhere there. Say hi, let me know where you found me at. That'll be really cool. If I find out that somebody from YouTube followed me off of YouTube, that would actually be kind of amazing. Anyway, hope you have a good one, and I will see you next week.